Angie Pantry, and today we're going to do another collaboration. And this, my girls and I have been talking about this and decided we were going to do a video on this. And everybody's going to have a little different spin on it, so I think it'll be really good. And I haven't named the video yet, but what I'm doing is I'm going to show you some things in the home can pantry that I absolutely love and would do over and over and over again, and things that I've done in the past that I absolutely hate and will never do again. And so hopefully it'll kind of sway. Everybody has their own taste, you know, and own way of doing things, and I just think that this is a good subject to cover. So hopefully if you like this, you'll give me a thumbs up and share this on your Facebook page. And I'm gonna try to create a playlist, and I'm gonna ask the ladies that are involved from Wilhelm's Kitchen, Lisa from Lisa Sutton's Days, and Mandy from More to Life, Heather from The Needy Homesteader. We're all gonna have a different take on this. And so I'd like to create a playlist, and if you wanna jump on board and do a video, oh, and let's get Angie from Angie's Pantry involved. I think she should be involved in this as well. And you know, and then if you have your own opinion, do a video, send me the link, and I'll add it to the playlist as well. So I think this is a really good subject. So home canning, why do I do it? Well, first off, if I get killer prices on stuff, or I have an abundance in the garden, I'm gonna preserve it, and canning is a way of preserving the food, along with dehydrating. And you know, if we had a bazillion dollars and had a big freeze dryer, then that would be another way. And you can also salt things. I mean, there's all kinds of ways of preserving, but this is one of my preferred methods. So I always have a resource book, canning book. And this is the newest fall book. This is the Amish canning book. This is another fall book. That's a good one. But they all have their own stuff that may or may not be good in the end. And I'm gonna go over that in a second. But I'm gonna go over things that I love, and I didn't bring out every variety of things that I have in the pantry because I don't have that much room on this counter. But things that I love and that what I would do again and again and again are in this jar box. And this, I just did these. These are stewed tomatoes, or not stewed, but crushed tomatoes. Any kind of tomato product. And I've got salsa here. I've also got tomato bisque. This is one of my most favorite soups, and it's, you know, I can open this jar, add heavy cream to it, and I've got soup for the family. And in fact, I just took some of this to my father-in-law today in a thermos, all hot and ready to eat. All the tomato products, they're fantastic. You know, you can water bath can just plain tomatoes if you want to, but they're actually healthier the longer they cook. So tomatoes can stand up to long periods of cooking time. And you can also mix them with things. I love tomatoes with celery. I love this succotash, and this is frozen lima beans, frozen sweet corn, and homemade or home canned or fresh tomatoes that I blanch and dice, but diced tomatoes. So it's a succotash. It's delicious, and I like to have that on the shelf. I also, moving from the tomato products, any fruit, and I don't have any jellies right now. I'm telling you, jelly flies out of my house, and we don't even eat it. But this is plum syrup that I made last year, and it's fantastic on pancakes. And oh, if you want to have dessert and have ice cream with some of this plum syrup on top, it's delicious. So, and you would be hard pressed to find this in a grocery store. So that's one of the things I really like about canning is you can find specialty items like dilled asparagus spears. I got this asparagus on sale for such a great deal. I canned asparagus and I did dilled asparagus. So I've got that on the shelf. And when I get a good deal on mushrooms, you can can your own mushrooms. These are wonderful. I also quite often, and I didn't get any green beans this year because the dogs helped me out of all those, but this is from last year. And this actual recipe is taken out of the all new fall canning book. And they have 2 green bean recipes in there, and one's with green beans and mushrooms in a beef broth, and one is a lemon green bean, but I added the mushrooms in there because I put lemon in my mushrooms, lemon pepper. This is one of my favorite vegetables canned. I also love canned spinach. I don't love the process because it's kind of like a fire drill. I'm not gonna lie. You have to be on your toes, but trying to put a variety of vegetables on the shelf is always a challenge, and I like to have greens on the shelf. But I also, this is one of my new favorites, and this I saw this recipe idea, and this is carrots with French onion soup mix, and you just put a couple tablespoons of the dry mixture in with your water, and you go ahead and pressure can because it's still low acid. And this potatoes, carrots, onions, put this in a stew or a soup, yum, and you're ready to go. So those are all things. And black beans, any kind of bean. I have every kind of bean I can possibly put in a jar. I have it on the shelf. And you can make a black bean soup with this. You can do a tortilla soup and add your black beans. You can drain these off, use them in salads, make refried beans. And at a fraction of the cost. All of this, I try to make it cost effective. So one of my other favorite things is pie fillings. Pie fillings, they're expensive in the store. You get a little tiny can. I think you need 3 cans to make a pie. And it's about, I want to say it's $3.69 a can. So take that to the bank. That's a lot of money to put in a pie filling. And it's not that good. So when I get rhubarb out of the garden, I do rhubarb pie filling, rhubarb strawberry, apple pie filling, blueberry pie filling, any kind of cherry pie filling. And you don't just have to use it for pie, because you do need 2 quarts to make a pie, a big pie. You can make a dump cake. Again, it can go over dessert. It can go over a little shortcake that you would use for strawberry shortcake or angel food cake. Delicious. So, moving to broths, and I do all the meat broths. I don't do vegetable broth, but I add vegetables to my meat broth to carry it. And I get, I always refer to the Ball Canning book for my references. This happens to be turkey broth, and it's actually turkey bone broth. So that is a bone broth that. It's so good. And in fact, you can spot the flavor in the soups because it's been, the bones were roasted. It's been slow cooked for days, and it's just fantastic. So then, because we've got the beans in the pantry, I like to have lots of protein on the shelf. I can always make a meal if I've got protein to surround it around, whether it be beans or meats. And I'm gonna talk about this meat here. This is elk in wine broth. And I always par cook my meats. When you look in the canning bush, you do not have to do that, but I like to par cook meats. And I just think you get a prettier product in the end. And like this is chicken, and I cubed the chicken breast, and I put herbs de Provence in here. The spices do not take over. It's also in a chicken broth. So you've got the makings of whatever you need. You either thicken that broth for a casserole or put it in a soup, and you've already got your broth, and it's fabulous. So a little herbs de Provence. Chicken, I have to have lots of chicken on the shelf, and I like chicken breast, I like chicken thighs. I even can bone in chicken thighs and legs. And in fact, I just opened a jar yesterday, and I do them in quart jars. I opened a jar and made chicken and orzo soup, and I'm sure you saw that video. Anyways, fantastic. So you can pull from your pantry at a drop of a hat. I can put together a meal. I mean, we could have chicken over rice, like cream, thicken this broth up and do a creamy chicken over rice with green beans or carrots on the side, and you got dinner. Or you could throw this in the crock pot with some of this salsa and heat it up, and you've got tacos. So, and throw some black beans on the side. Make some refried black beans. There's 2 dinners right there, just pulling a rabbit out of my hat. Anyways, or you could do creamy chicken and mushroom to go over rice, and have a side dish of succotash with, of course, you need a couple dill spears. So pickles, I would always do again. Any of the preserves. I also like to get, instead of canning peaches, I like canning nectarines because I don't have to skin them. Nectarines, pears. You can make like a fruit cocktail with your nectarines, pears. You can put some cherries in there if you want, and it is phenomenal. Pineapple. You can make it a little tropical and use some pineapple. All those things are really good items to home can and have available. I also do a lot of condiments, like barbecue sauce, and that's going to bring me to a subject. I do a bunch of different kinds of barbecue sauces. I like to do smoked meats as well, and sometimes you'll pull it out of the jar, add a little bit of the homemade barbecue sauce, and you've got, pulled pork on a bun or whatever. So I think you are really focusing on your ingredients, what's in there, and what's good for your family. So try it. Now, and this is just a few things that I can. I'm going to go over some things that I've canned in the past that I did not like. Number 1 on my list, shrimp. And it's in the ball canning book on how to do it. And I followed this to the letter. And when the shrimp went in the jar, they tasted wonderful and the texture was perfect. I mean, it tasted fantastic. When you opened a jar, and they look beautiful in the jar. When you open a jar, you literally could pick up the shrimp and it would disintegrate in your hand. They were like mush and very, very, very fishy. And I tossed the whole batch. And I had spent about $30 on shrimp to try the recipe. So what I learned from that is when I do a test recipe of something that I'm not sure of, I do a very small batch and just a couple of jars. And I test the one jar right after the canning session, maybe the next day. And then the other jar, I'm going to go ahead and test that, a month or 2 down the road to make sure that I really, really like it and it hasn't changed flavor. I do, I wanted to bring up, I do can bacon, and I think it's fabulous to have on the shelf for flavorings and all that. So number 1 on my list. Number 2 on the list. Not good. This was, French onion soup. I need to make some French onion soup. I make a mushroom soup base for cream of mushroom. You add cream when you open it. It's fantastic. I use it all the time. There's a recipe in here for a cherry bourbon barbecue sauce. And this is in the new ball canning book. It is disgusting. I mean, it tastes okay when you are making it, but it turns out this thick, dark, very unappealing, not a good barbecue sauce. Doesn't remind me of barbecue sauce in the least. And again, I follow the recipes to the letter. So I guess you just have to find out what you really like and what is going to be fantastic for you and what isn't. The low sugar raspberry lemonade jam, I like it, but you have to like really tart because it is very lemony tart. And but for anybody that has to have low sugar, that's a great recipe. Let's see, I've got, there's a couple of things. Oh, okay. Meatballs. I feel like the only way to do meatballs is to, don't use any breadcrumbs or anything like that, and do it in a beef broth that has maltodextrin in it. That helps keep the meat firm. And you definitely want to brown them first and get them par cooked. Meatloaf is disgusting. It is beyond, in my opinion. Now there's other people out there that love it. They take it out of the jar and they slice it and brown it a little bit, put some caramelized onion jam or ketchup on it and call it meatloaf. And I called it dog food. It's disgusting. So there is a Swedish meatball stroganoff in here in this book. I have not tried it, but There's a couple of recipes that I'd really like to try. Let's see. I do not care for plain potatoes, canned. They taste different to me. And even when you buy them in the store, they have a different flavor, and I don't care for it, and I've tried to get around it, but I'll tell you what changed my heart is putting the French onion soup mix or just some added beef bouillon, and so you make kind of a beef stock or broth for your potatoes, and the onions. That doesn't change the time of how long you have to cook it, but it changes the flavor of those potatoes. They no longer have that potato flavor that I don't care for. So these, they do some meals in a jar, like, oops, gosh, my book's falling apart, that are for small batch canning. And I thought, as far as these go, now they've got some different succotash recipe. They've got Mexicorn, honey ginger carrots, and there's quite a few carrot recipes, and carrots are reasonable. That's a reasonable vegetable to put on your pantry shelf, and you know, you don't have to stock the whole year in one sitting, like somebody I know. But a friend of mine, Lisa, just did, I don't know, 70 some jars, I think, or something, of carrots. Whew, crazy girl. I would not can Brussels sprouts. That to me just sounds awful. Oh, that's for freezing. Never mind. I thought it was in the canning section. So this book also, most canning books will have a guideline for freezing and dehydrating as well. So I'm just kind of popping through here to make sure I don't forget anything. And I don't try to can, you know, breads. And I saw somebody do, what was it? Ravioli, no, tortellini. The dried tortellini, and they did it in a tomato base, and I just think you're playing with fire on some stuff. Now, do I bend the rules on canning? On the things that I know that I've done enough research? Yes, but for the most part, I follow the guidelines. This Amish canning cookbook is fantastic, and there are some soup recipes in here that I really want to try, and there's still some recipes in here I really want to try. So I guess what I'm trying to have you avoid is to don't can Polska kielbasa or hot dogs, or I mean, I've tried it. It's disgusting. They get a really weird texture. Their flavor isn't good. I did hot links once. That wasn't good. So they're all lessons, and they kind of get expensive. But beef, chicken, as long as you par cook the chicken, turkey, ground meats, I really like them canned. I do a dry canned ground beef. You cook the meat first and pack it dry, and I like that okay. But I found if I use the Better Than Bouillon with the maltodextrin in it, for ground turkey and ground beef, the texture is wonderful. It doesn't get too soft. So that's what the commercial companies use to keep meats firm, and vegetables in the canning process, because they have to follow the same canning guidelines basically. So hopefully this helped. I hope that it gives you some ideas of what not to do. I mean, there's a few things that I go, I will never do that again. And then there's some other things that you go, well, maybe I need to make a triple batch next time. So maybe that's how Lisa got that idea to do that many carrots. I know she got a screaming deal on them. So carrots are great to put on the shelf, and there's some fun recipes in that the Ball canning book, so I might try those next. I don't can onions, and I don't can celery on their own. I do like celery and tomatoes though, and I don't can squash or pumpkin or sweet potatoes. I've canned them. The sweet potatoes are extremely soft, and I still, even though they're not in metal, I still have, it tastes like a metallic taste to me, so I don't can sweet potatoes. I'm not a sweet potato canner. There are some out there, and pumpkin. I feel like I can freeze it just as easy. So anyways, I hope this helped. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that it clears up some of, maybe I don't want to do that, maybe I would love to do that, and get yourself a good, reputable source. I've got about 8 canning books, and I also double check everything online on the national website for food preservation, and make sure that all my times are, you know, happening together. Nobody's got a typo error in there, and yeah, anyway. All right, guys. I can't wait to see you next time for another delicious recipe from the pantry. And if you like this, remember, give me a thumbs up, share it on your Facebook page, and go down below and check the links that I've left you. I've got a link to my Thrive website. Any support is so much appreciated. It really helps our channel out. All right, guys.